Have an Instagram and a YouTube Love Sugar Show. So thank you for taking the time for doing this interview with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So before I ask any questions about the album, my first question is always, how's everything going on the other side of the world?
Yeah, well, we're obviously in the future too. It's the 1st of October right now. 2:30 in the afternoon. So we're just pretty much gearing up to come to the States. We fly out next Thursday. So that's pretty much taking up all our time and rehearsing and all that kind of stuff.
That's exciting.
Yeah, very. We're definitely excited, a little bit nervous or anxious, I guess, just because never been to the States and never done a tour of this magnitude. So yeah, but yeah, we're pretty excited to get there and get into
Yeah, we're a rowdy bunch, so good luck.
it. Nice. That's good to hear.
So I have to ask, how's everything going in the future since you're already in October?
Yeah, I can give you the lotto numbers from last night if you want to make some
Sweet.
money. No.
So the album cover is very dark, really cool. So kind of wanted to talk about that. What was kind of the inspiration for the album cover itself?
Well, it's kind of I guess a little bit of a continuation of the theme of the last two albums. Like we really sort of really wanted something striking, but I think this one, just because the album itself, like musically and lyrically, is a bit darker,
Mhm.
um, we kind of wanted to have something that was a little bit striking, but also like you kind of have to look closer, to see what's actually going on. And I don't know,
Mhm.
maybe it's a cheesy metaphor, but like, looking closer at the album cover, hopefully people look a bit closer at the album and at the music and stuff. And so we felt like it all kind of tied together. We definitely like made sure there were some focal points like the eyes, like that's a pretty big focal point. And the
Right.
artist Brittany who did it, she did fantastic. I'm probably going to butcher her Instagram name, but it's Seprofil or Seprofil. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but yeah, she was awesome and she was great to work with. And yeah, I think
Mhm.
she really nailed it.
Yeah, I know when I looked at it, I'm like, is that just a dark album? And then I started looking at it and lightening it up. I'm like, okay, there's something there. Like I did not see it when I first glanced at it. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, well, cool. That's kind of good to hear because yeah, that was kind of the desired effect. Like, oh, it's dark, but if you look a bit closer, you might get some more information.
For sure. So I also want to talk about the album title, which is the
Yep.
hardest thing about being God is no one believes in me. That's
Yep.
really profound. Can you kind of dig like a little bit deeper into that of how that came to be?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there was like obviously we have a really long band name already.
Yeah.
So there's always been a kind of hesitation about having an album name equally as long. And hence our last albums have always been like two words, like um but I think it was just when we were recording this album, because there's obviously a track with the same name,
Mhm.
and at the end of that track there's like a vocal hook that repeats that line. And when we recorded that bit, and we sort of had a notepad of just like possible album titles. And
Yeah.
when we recorded it, just kind of like stuck because it is kind of like a little bit catchy, I guess. And then I put it in
Hmm.
the notepad, and then like the next day, everyone was like unanimously like this should be the album title. And
Hmm.
ironically, it was probably Stace, the vocalist, who wrote the lyric. It was probably him who had the most pushback because of he thought like the fact that it was really long with the
Yeah,
really long band name might not be good. But I'm glad he came around to it, and I'm glad that we stuck with it because yeah, I think it's pretty striking. And it's obviously a really good point in the story of the album too. Like it's right in the middle of the album, and I think it encompasses the whole story pretty well. So yeah, that's how it came to be.
do you remember any of the other album names that almost got picked?
Um, yeah, there was a couple like the last song on the album's called Coalescence, and I think Coalescence was kind of in the running, but we kind of felt like it was probably been done before, and kind of thing because it has a lot of themes that are prevalent through the album. But
Hmm.
yeah, I can't remember. I think there was. think there were a couple of others from some lyrics and stuff, but yeah, it was kind of crazy, like because I think on the last album, Rejecting Obliteration, we like argued from like a couple of months about the album title, so it was quite nice to have this one like done and dusted pretty early on in the process.
Yeah. So when you guys have a different opinion of what you think the album should be or songs or, just trying to figure out what to do, how do you guys crush those discussions with minimal damage, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question because I feel like every band probably goes through this, right? But no one really talks about that. Um, we just talk it out. Like, I mean, Stace, Stu, and I have, we've been in this band for 15 years, and we've been friends since before that. So we kind of know each other pretty well. And I think basically it's just more like stating why you think this should be this, and then like discussing that, and then and sometimes there will be decisions that like not everyone agrees on, and then sometimes you might have to like compromise, I guess. But it's like we also have the benefit with this is our first album with our new drummer Koda and our new guitarist Dan. Having that sort of fresh perspective into the band as well is really nice, like because
Mhm.
it can be pretty daunting for them to come in. We know we've been doing this for 15 years, but then
Yeah.
their voice, we make sure their voice is still heard.
Well, that's good. So you don't just say, you guys are new, you don't get an opinion this time. Maybe
Yeah,
next.
yeah, yeah. Nah, not like that.
Do you think having those two members definitely changed the sound of the album?
100%. Like, Stu, who writes most of the music, the guitarist, he'd been so used to writing for Tim, our previous drummer, who drummed on everything up until this album. And
Mhm.
so having Koda come along, who's plays quite a different style and has strengths in different areas. Um, Stu initially said he found it quite challenging to sort of like come up with, because Stu is a drummer as well, so there's sort of he sort of knows the language, but I guess if I had to compare, like Koda has a different dialect, right? So he sort of had to like work back and forth with Koda, but it was a lot more collaborative, I guess, because Stu would just send him the riffs, and then Koda would come back with like drum ideas for them, and so that was really cool. And I think, yeah, this is Koda's first album with us, and I think the drumming is incredible. I think like people were going to hear it and be like, holy shit, um, like it's definitely like a step in a new direction for us. And with Dan, like that guy is such an insane guitarist, and he never he's never played in a band like this, like death metal before or anything.
Yeah.
But we've just known him for years, and he's always been a good friend. And we sort of asked him if he'd be interested, and he was like, "Yeah, why not? Give it a go." And he's actually got like his own home recording studio. So we actually tracked all of the guitars and stuff with him, which obviously made a massive difference because we could take all the time we needed to like get the right sound and stuff. And yeah, there's like some of the solos and leads that he added in, just like
Hmm.
for his own flavor. Just yeah, yeah, really cool. So it's kind of weird. Like I'm very proud of everything we did with our previous members, but like I definitely feel like this is the start of like a new phase of the band kind of thing.
For sure. Well, that's awesome. It's good that they add something to it.
Oh yeah, 100%. And one thing, Koda, our drummer, he's like quite a bit younger than us. Like he's
Hmm.
sort of 9 or 10 years younger. So he's got this like youthful exuberance, that
Yeah.
all us guys in our 30s are kind of have lost. But having him in there like is really really refreshing for sure.
Well, that's awesome. So how do you feel now that the album is finished? Like, what emotions come up for you?
It's kind of probably changes. Like now the reviews and stuff are starting to come in. It's kind of cool to see people vibing with it. And obviously, when the record actually comes out next Friday, like that's kind of like D-Day, right? And people, will talk more about it. Hopefully, I think there was a lot going on in the backgrounds when we were doing this album, like because we were trying to go to the States and all that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
there's like we were supposed to tour the USA last year, but the visas didn't come through in time. So we obviously had to scrap that, and that was like our big plan for the year. But it obviously gave us more time to work on the album. So it was kind of like bittersweet in a way. Um, yeah, I think because this album was the first one that we've like completely self-produced as well.
Oh,
It was quite a bit of a different process, like, and sort of you have to figure out a point where you just accept that it's never going to be perfect, and like as long as you're happy with it, that's it, kind of thing. So, um, yeah, I'm really excited. I haven't really listened to it since we got the masters back, like, and submitted it to the label. I listened to it a couple of times just to rehearse, but before, meeting up with the band. But that, yeah, I'm actually excited to give it a give it a listen when it comes out.
so what's your favorite song on the album?
My favorite song, I think it's hard for me to go past the opening track. It's like the longest song we've ever done, and it's probably like the most um progressive song we've done, and we put a lot of work into just like the structure of that song, and especially the vocals as well. It's kind of a weird one because Stu actually wrote that in sort of like the middle of the writing process, but it was one of those ones when he sent the demo through, we were kind of like, man, this should be the opening song, like this should be the opening of the album. So yeah, there's definitely we've just started playing it live too. We played it live in Australia last month, and we're opening with this. We'll be opening the shows in the US with it as well. So yeah, I'm really excited. I think it like will kick off the shows with a bang. But yeah, that's probably definitely my favorite at the moment.
Awesome. So I noticed you mentioned that that song is really long and then there's shorter songs on the album. When you're doing a song, how do you determine like it's going to be longer, it's going to be shorter? Is that something that you decide or does it just kind of happen?
For the most part, Stu, like if you listen to our very very early stuff, like our first album and stuff, like we were just trying to pack a million ideas into one song, like, and
Yeah.
didn't really explore riff ideas. And I think just as we've got older and a bit more mature, become more mature songwriters, that Stu definitely does explore ideas a bit more. And for the most part, the songs come to like the demos, they don't change structurally really from the demo to the final product. But there was a few on this album where we like added a few repeats and for different things. Yeah,
Hmm.
sometimes like especially like with the shorter songs, like there's this one song that's like a minute 40 or whatever. That's kind of, I think that's like Stu just like expelling all the bent up energy, like just to get it out onto one song. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe he could probably say it differently, but I don't think there's ever sort of an overarching plan of like how long a song is going to be. But yeah.
Awesome. So I know this album, it kind of feels like it digs into like maybe obsession or unraveling sanity. Do you
hmm
find that writing this actually got into like the band's head a little bit, or was it more like stepping into like a character role and writing it like that?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So this is the first album that Stace has written the lyrics from start to finish. Like normally him and Stu share the lyric writing.
Hmm.
But this was the first time that Stace, well, like basically Stu finished the music and then Stace came to us and was like, "Hey, I've got this concept, I've got this story that I want to tell. I think I've got enough lyrics for all 10 songs. Blah 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 blah." Um, and so he basically broke the concept down for us, and we were like, "Yeah, that sounds awesome." And because we were self-producing it, we sort of basically just set up like a makeshift vocal studio out at his place, and like we really, as the recording went on, we really really leant into the concept. So like there's bits through the album like vocally where he does put on like a different voice to like represent the voice and the head of the protagonist, or just to show the different sides of the obsession and sort of the derangement, I guess. So yeah, I think, yeah, Stace. I think Stace. There were times where like we pushed him pretty hard, like to, because we sort of had ideas of how we wanted it to sound.
Yeah.
So there were probably times where he was like, frustrated and stuff, but I think that like added to the music, and added to the vocals,
Yeah.
specifically.
So you think you did a good job overall with everything?
Yeah, I think so. Like, there's definitely things that, we learnt along the way, and things, that might make it smoother if we do it that way again. I'd like to do it that way again. It was super, super fun, and not having like the time constraint of like having to have an album done by this date and blah blah
Right.
blah. So I mean, we could take a little bit more time with it. I guess, like with the last album, because we signed to Prosthetic so soon after after the release of the one before, like we basically turned that one round in like 12 months. So it was kind of like, not that we felt rushed, but like this one was definitely, we had a lot more time to perfect everything.
Do you think that time helped a lot, or do you think it gave you time to like kind of go back and fix things to the way you wanted it to be?
Yeah, like there were definitely times where like we'd track some vocals, and then I'd send them to Dan, and he'd like put them into like a rough mix and send them back, and we'd be like, okay, nah, we need to do that again, or oh no, that's awesome, let's keep that. So I definitely think it helped. I mean, there's still stuff now where I listen to it, I'm like, oh man, maybe we should have changed that, but it's like stuff that I'm probably going to only notice and no one else is going to notice. So, you just kind of have to accept that it's not going to be perfect in your own mind.
Sure.
But I'm very happy with it, of course.
But also, do you really want perfection? Because then that's more like robot level at that point. Like it
Yeah,
could
well, yeah,
bring
well,
human element.
I did. Yeah, I talked about this on a earlier interview. Like, especially in our genre, there's like obviously some bands who go for that perfect, like quantized on the grid. Everything is like super robotic and polished. And I understand that there's a place for that, but I think we've always tried to keep the human element um, in there. Like obviously, we still record to a click and all that kind of thing, but
Right.
we definitely like allow room, for it to have a bit of vibe and a bit of life. Um, yeah, I think
That's
so.
important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in this album, did you leave any sort of like Easter eggs in the album for listeners to find?
Yeah, there is quite a few. Yeah, I'm not sure how many I should give away, but like I guess the main um the whole story is telling the story of this character. But there's quite a big twist at the end of the
Yeah.
album, sort of in the last song or two. So yeah, I won't explicitly say what that is, but there are like, once you make that connection as a listener to what the twist is, if you go back and listen to the album again with that information, there's little bits along the way that you're like, they were hinting at that the whole time, and that was very deliberate, and stuff that we put in, and like just and even and just even like as I said before about like sort of the weird vocal things, and like we use
Mm-hmm.
some weird production, like just to like have it swirl around your ears and stuff, like just so it's kind of uncomfortable. And yeah, I think there will, I'm hoping that the more people listen to it, the more people discover, because there is some stuff hidden away in there.
So I have to ask, does the character have a name, or like what do you think this character looks like in your head?
Yeah, I'm not really too sure, because Um, we filmed a music video for the song Compulsion, and we obviously wanted to tell that story, or like that part of the story in the music video. And we kind of wanted to keep the protagonist sort of like, I don't know, a mystery. So we kind of didn't really know how to go about that. So we ended up using like, you know, obviously just like black clothing and like balaclava kind of stuff, like just to keep it quite mysterious, because it's just, yeah, we didn't want to give too much away, basically.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is like point of view shots. So yeah, I don't know if you remember the music video for the Prodigy song "Smack My Bitch Up."
Yep.
But there was sort of like some inspiration from that as well, sort of like having the point of view shots, um and yeah, so you don't really know what the main character is completely about. But yeah, we'll as it comes out and people will talk about it, hopefully, yeah, people will discover some things.
So, well, sorry, listeners, y'all gonna have to figure that one out on your own.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's the kind of thing like once the album's been out for a wee while, we yeah, we've sort of talked about like, do we be a bit more open about it? But like, we really, I don't know. I kind of, this is probably a bit nostalgic, but like back in the day when you'd like get a CD or something and you'd like open it up and read the lyrics along with the music as you're listening to it for the first time, like we
Yeah,
really wanted to kind of like have that vibe with this album as well. So that's why I kind of don't want to like
yeah.
give too much away so that people hopefully can discover stuff on their own when they listen to it. If people even still do that, I don't know.
I do love that CD days back in the day. You kind of look through the packet. Sometimes they have like little hints in the booklet, and you're like, "Oh, I didn't notice that."
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think there's a couple of hints in the booklet as well. So yeah, putting it all together, hopefully.
well, there you guys go. There's your extra. So, what do you think about the album was like the most challenging for you personally?
It was probably, I guess, probably just the time aspect because we were trying to like the bulk of the recording we were doing with the intention of going to the States, right, at the end of
Yeah.
last year, and so it was just trying to juggle just everything in life. Um, that's probably the most challenging part, and then obviously being well, like a band at the bottom of the world, it's we're quite isolated, so like we have to quite often look offshore to find someone to mix it or someone to do the artwork or whatever like that. So I think there wasn't anything like overly challenging. It was probably just like time. But then again, it's kind of like a catch 22 because we did actually enjoy the time that we had to make this album without any constraints, which was good. So yeah, I don't know if that really answers your question, but it kind of yeah, maybe give some insight.
Yeah, for sure. So I know we talked about, how the album it's coming out is finished. There are things that you wish that you could change. But are there any songs that almost didn't make it into the album?
So because of the way this album was written, and because of the way Stace had written the story of the vocals and everything, we kind of had to like decide very early on like the track order,
Hmm.
which is something that we normally don't do until like mastering phase.
Yeah.
So basically, we sort of had to sit down and work out which order the songs flow in the best. And then also the other thing being cognizant is like vinyl restraints. Like you can only sort of have 45 minutes on a vinyl, and I think the album ends up being just under 46 minutes. So we're really pushing the limits of the vinyl length, but no, I don't think. I think once we'd decided on the track list and started working on the vocals for each song, I think we were pretty comfortable that everything was gonna make it. Usually the way like Stu usually writes music in a way that he sort of has these bursts where he spits out songs quite a few
Hmm.
at a time. So like quite often basically what you hear on the album is all the songs that were written for the album, like because there's been the odd time I think there was like one or two sort of half demos for this one that sort of we like he couldn't really figure out if they fit the vibe, so we just didn't use them, and they might
Yeah.
be used again later on the next one or whatever. But yeah, no, pretty much everything that we put work into made it on there. So
Well, that's good that you figured that out early.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you go back through our career, I think like we've probably got like 5 or 6 songs that we didn't end up using across all our albums. So yeah.
Hmm. So, being that the band is from New Zealand, do you feel like outsiders in the global scene, or does it feel like you kind of have more freedom?
Hmm. Yeah, it's a tough question because like obviously small country, but like the metal scene's pretty good here. Like there's a lot of good bands
Hmm.
um coming out of New Zealand, and we picked up more attention overseas than we did here for a long time, and that seems to be the way for a lot of New Zealand metal bands. Um, So I think in some ways it kind of gives you some freedom a little bit because we can just like find our niche and do what, and there's probably going to be people out there who are going to listen to it. But
Mhm.
I wouldn't put that down to necessarily being geographically isolated. But yeah, I'm all about trying to, help other bands like try and
Mhm.
get their music out because it's like arguably it's easier these days from being in New Zealand than it was 10 years ago, just with streaming and stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that translates when we get to the States next week.
Yeah.
But like the States has always been our biggest, like with our streaming data and everything, it's always like our biggest fan base. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I think it's gonna go awesome. I think
Oh
people are
yeah, nice.
really excited.
Yeah, we're excited for sure. Obviously, a little bit anxious just because first time being there and touring a country that you've never been to is always daunting. But yeah, we're excited to get there and get into it. And yeah, obviously playing alongside Volcandra, who are on Prosthetic as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, really, really, really excited to get it underway.
Well, hopefully you enjoy it. There's a lot of food, a lot of options, so it'll be a good
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So the biggest question is, what movie would this album be a good soundtrack to?
um, yeah, it's an interesting one. I always, I kind of could visualize a little mini series being based on it, or something like that. I don't know. It's obviously got tinges of darkness and obsession, and yeah, I know. Probably the other guys would probably roll their eyes, but I'd probably say something like David Lynch, something
Hmm.
like Blue Velvet or like Lost Highway or something, maybe, or even Mulholland Drive, like along those lines, like quite dark and creepy and weird, and um, yeah, that would probably be my initial thought. Yeah.
Well, the good news is they're not here, so they can't roll their eyes. So,
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, I say that some of them are David Lynch fans anyway, but um, that's like I've always tried to like I think on Nightmare Withdrawals we had a song that was heavily influenced by Twin Peaks, so
mhm.
um, thanks to myself. So yeah.
So one last question here for you. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the fans that have followed you from the beginning, or anyone interested in seeing you on tour, or anyone who's giving you a listen to for the first time?
Well, I guess first of all, thank you for having me on here and giving us a platform because yeah, as I said, like this is the problem of being geographically isolated. Sometimes is that sometimes you can't get your music to everyone who might be into it. So hopefully your viewers and listeners check it out and hopefully they enjoy it. And if they enjoy it, then maybe come to a show and starting next week in LA and then for the next month, pretty much around this. Wow, I don't know. I think the furthest east we get is like Chicago, right? So, um, no East Coast, unfortunately. But yeah, come out to a show, say hi, and yeah, have a yarn.
Well, I want to thank you for taking your time for doing this interview with me. And for anyone that's interested in the album, I'll put all the links and the band information below, so it makes it really easy for you guys to check it out. The album name is called The Hardest Thing About Being God Is No One Believes in Me. Awesome cover, really long, love it. It comes out on October the 10th from Prosthetic Records. So you
Awesome,
guys need to check it out. I listened to it the other day. Would definitely grab a copy if I were you.
awesome. Thank you.
So thank you again for taking your time for doing this interview.
Thank you. As I said, thank you for having us, and yeah, happy to do it.
Yeah, no problem. Well, enjoy your day in the future.
Yeah, I will do.
All right, take care.
Thank you.